Hey everybody, it's Zazu Cioce here with your Movement Minute. So this is going to be a part 2 to my prior TMJ video earlier this week. And basically we're just going to hit the other two muscles that really help to control the TMJ, or just as a reminder, the temporomandibular joint. And so just as a review, last video, we talked about the two larger muscles in the group of 4 that really help to control this joint, which were the temporalis muscle found on our temporal bone here with the tendon that runs down to the actual TMJ joint, and then the masseter, which is a really strong muscle that is a large amount of the force behind our talking, chewing, and even our bite force. And that one was, if you find kind of the corner of your jaw to your cheekbone, right in between the two through here. So now we're going to talk about two smaller muscles that are called your pterygoids. And so you have an inner and an outer pterygoid. And anatomically, they're also called the medial and the lateral pterygoids. And so I've got Steve again. Welcome back. He's our guest, host here. And so Steve's just going to kind of show us again visually where all these muscles are at. So we've got this big red oval here that is going to be where the temporalis muscle belly lives. And then remember, the tendon comes down through here and attaches to the mandible at this portion. So then we have the masseter, which is represented by this big blue rectangle, and it attaches to our cheekbone here. So then we've got the lateral pterygoid, and so that is going to attach. It's going to be a little bit harder to see here, but that's going to attach basically to the front part of the mandibular bone that creates half of the TMJ joint. So this little part here. So if you look at this little portion, that's going to be the disc. This is going to be the part that the lateral pterygoid is going to start from. And then it actually goes in underneath the cheekbone and attaches to the inner portion through here. So you can kind of see, there you go, that red portion right there. Okay, and so then you've got the medial or the inner pterygoid. And so I'm going to kind of turn Steve's head upside down just so we can see it a little bit clearer. But it actually mirrors the masseter muscle. So if you've got the masseter, kind of coming from the angle of our jaw to our cheekbone, that's basically the same line of pull, just on the inside of the jaw instead of the outside, that the medial pterygoid is where it's going to live. So if you look here, you can see that it'll start here from the inner portion of the jaw and then comes up this way as well. So from the blue here to the red here. And so you can see that those muscles are going to be really important for basically, again, opening and closing, but also kind of moving our jaws to the outside and the inside. And so, especially if we're having any kind of stiffness or discomfort in the TMJ area, yes, it's good to get those bigger muscles. Those bigger muscles are kind of easier targets to be able to change with a little bit of soft tissue mobilization, like I showed you in our last video. But it's important not to forget about the muscles that really help with the translation of the jaw, which are the pterygoids. So remember, medial and lateral. And so these are a little bit harder to get access to. You just have to be a little bit more specific. So for the lateral, you can get to a portion of it from the outside, which is what I would recommend for everyone just here watching. And so again, the way we start is we are going to kind of open and close our jaw, find where our ear hole is, bring our finger to the front, and then while we open and close our jaw, we should feel the joint kind of move underneath our fingers. So let's find mine. Okay, and I'm right on it because I could feel that bone kind of push out into my finger. And so we know that the lateral pterygoid attaches to that little tiny bone that we just found to the front of it. So basically, you're going to find that bone, and then you're just going to move literally like a millimeter, if that, just to the front of it, or towards, if we're looking at it from the side, kind of towards your chin. So I'm here on it, and then I just move just a tiny bit in front of it, and that's how we know we're on more of the lateral pterygoid muscle. And so again, same deal. You can do it with your finger. You can do it with like a little tool, like a little massage tool or anything like that, but you can do it while you're talking and you're just basically kind of massaging, but you're also kind of working in a little bit deeper. And if that feels painful or sore, then you kind of know you're on the right spot. You don't want to press so hard that it is really increasing your pain, but pain is a good marker for if you're in the right area or not. This generally doesn't feel super great just because there's not a lot of tissue between, the bone and the joint and your finger. But again, it shouldn't be kind of sending you through the roof either. So that's going to be one little trick. So similar to the prior video where we're just basically holding pressure, we can go across the actual tendon. And so remember, the tendon kind of comes through here and then goes this way underneath the cheekbone. So we can go over it horizontally, we can go with it. And then again, we can do it mouth closed. We can do it talking or, opening and closing our mouth if we're going to do a mobilization with movement with that. So then the second muscle that we're going to try to get access to, that's the tricky one. So really a more efficient way to get to it is through the mouth. And so just depends on your comfort with putting your finger in your mouth. And so sometimes the finger also doesn't work great. So what I actually end up doing and what I tell my clients to do if this is an issue for them is I will have them grab a pencil and a glove, and we should all have plenty of these around the house now, and then put the pencil eraser side first into the glove so that you've got the eraser on the tip here. All right, so then what I have you do is usually I'm going to have you lie down so that you can kind of relax the postural muscles and as many muscles as you can while you try to do this. You want your muscles to relax and not try to fight you. And so I'm going to demonstrate here on Steve. And so his jaw is wired. It's going to give me a little bit of resistance, but we're going to work with it. So, all right, so if we kind of look at Steve's head here, you're going to open your jaw, and then you can see where in the back you can try to get to that muscle. So you're going to open his jaw, or your jaw. I'm going to open his jaw if he lets me. And then we are going to bring the actual pencil, and we're going to move it to the back and to the side. And so if I kind of flip him over here, this is where you're trying to hit. You're trying to hit kind of back, as far back as you can go, and to the side. It should kind of feel like you're hitting a bony block. So if you look a little bit deeper here, you can see that, right, this is just past the last row of teeth here. And so, right, you're coming in and you're just coming to the side. And so that's how you get the medial pterygoid from the inside. So that's going to be similar. You can hold it there and just gentle pressure. you can hold it there with gentle pressure and then open and close your mouth. It's harder to talk with something in your mouth. We've all been to the dentist and tried to have a conversation with our dentist. It's the same deal. So this one's a little bit easier to just open and close your mouth. And that way you get a little bit of a mobilization with movement. All right, and so last thing is I want to give you just a couple of exercises. So once we mobilize some tissue that is not moving as well or is a little bit restricted for whatever reason, we want to always follow it up with some reinforcement exercise, because you can mobilize a tissue all you want and it can feel great, but if you don't basically retrain the neurological system to forget the bad habit that got us there in the first place, then it's just going to come back and you're just going to continue to have issues. So that's why I always, to basically be most effective with our mobility practice, we want to follow it up with some sort of movement exercise. So I'm just going to teach you a couple, and we are going to go in the sagittal plane, which is basically kind of opening and closing your mouth, and in the frontal plane, which is going more of like the lateral movements. So what you're going to do is you are going to put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and then you're going to slowly open and close your mouth. This is good to do in front of a mirror, and you're going to try to do it so that your jaw doesn't deviate to one side or the other. A lot of times if we yawn real big, we can kind of notice ourselves if our jaw likes to go to one side or the other. And so that's a movement pattern that we need to retrain. And so basically putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth doesn't allow you to go to those extreme end ranges where the movement pattern is really excessive. So that's going to be our first one. So I'm just going to demonstrate that now. So I'm going to put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, and then I'm going to try to open and close. And I do have a deviation, so this is literally, I am going to do these exercises, and I do these are in my rotation in and out, just depending on how my TMJs are doing. So, all right, so here we go. So I went slow just because I know I do have a deviation, and so I was really trying to make sure I didn't deviate. And it looks like I didn't, so that's good. But again, if you are doing it and you're seeing that your jaw is deviating to one side or the other, slow down or make the movement smaller until you can do it successfully in one way or another, as far as going up and down. All right, so then the second is going to be more for lateral deviation. So we're going up and down, trying not to deviate as much. Well now, and that's going to be more working the temporalis and the masseters. So now we want to work a movement pattern in that really the pterygoids control more. And that is going to be that lateral deviation. But now we're going to try to do it under control, and again with the tongue on the roof of our mouths to make the movement smaller and more controlled. Okay, great. So you could tell on the first couple that I could get out there okay with okay control, but I kind of whipped back towards the center, and so that's something that I need to work on. But again, if you see that happening where you're kind of whipping out and whipping back, that means you're not controlling the movement, and the whole point is to reinforce a controlled movement pattern. So it's just like we do with all of our big muscles and all of our bigger joints. It's the same thing that you would do with the TMJ or the smaller joints or the joints that you don't really think about. So if you have any questions, let me know. Let me know how you guys like it. If any of this is painful or hurts, then stop and give yourself a little bit of a break. You feel free to reach out if you're doing it and you're not quite sure if it's helping or, you know, what's going on with that. I'm always here, happy to help. And yeah, have a good night.